How do I get my life back? I'm working as an art director. I've been in the industry for 2 years. I've spoken to resourcing, managers, creative directors, but to no avail. And I'm working till 9, 10, and 11 most nights and weekends. Is this just the industry expectation? So I guess Jess can give us the sort of industry expectation from the other side, but I think it'd be really good to hear from you around like how do I manage this? I'm almost going to guess boundaries is going to come up.
Yes. The beautiful big B word that makes us all happy. Boundaries. Absolutely. My first question is, why are we doing it to begin with? The question really is, what are we doing during the day that is not allowing us to facilitate us to do the work that we need to get done? Does it mean that what we're being handed is too much for the 38, 40-hour a week role? Is it that we're kind of stuffing around a little bit during the day and then, perhaps we work better at night and maybe that's why it's happening? Is it because, you're burnt out and therefore everything is a slow moving, unoiled machine that's just like blah, 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 and that's why everything's taking you longer to do that? And I guess this is tricky because I can't have the answer to these questions because it's not a live interactive conversation. So if I make some suggestions around each of those options, I guess that might be helpful because, for some people, it might be that what you're being expected to do is well outside what you could possibly actually do. If you really, really looked at it and you wrote down all of the tasks, it might be, there's actually 2 full-time roles here that you're being expected to do. So in those sorts of situations, you can communicate that with your management team and express that, actually, if you write the list down of everything and then maybe look at how it connects with your actual position description, there might be some things that aren't matching up there and you're being asked to do more than what you rightly should be being asked to do. The second is, are we screwing around during the day and working better at night? And that might be just the way that you work. So it could be conversations with your team or your management to ask, is there a way that we can do flexible working arrangements? I noticed that for me, I work really well from like 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. and I don't seem to get as much done in, sort of 9 a.m. to midday. So is there a way that we can shift my hours that I work the second half of the day? Flexible workplace arrangements are, I think they're almost law now that you have to be able to ask for them. And so that can be a fair work conversation if it's denied for unreasonable reasons. But then the third is, if we're really burnt out and everything is taking 10 times as long, then this is where we really need to zoom out and look at how are we caring for ourselves, and is this still where we want to be? So mindfulness practice is really, really helpful to help use the mind to cool down the body. Exercise is really helpful to use the body to cool down the mind. So when you do both of those things together, it's almost like you're pressing a reset button, kind of like on a PlayStation. You press the reset button when you practice mindfulness regularly and you move your body regularly. All of the chemicals in your brain that I call mush, that are our fight, flight, freeze, faint, fawn response, they all go away. Well, they don't go away, but they reduce when we move our body and we practice mindfulness. So these are some things that you can do. And it comes back to that very first word, boundaries. If you don't want to be working at that time, you're the only one that can control that, because your boss probably isn't breathing down your neck at 9 p.m. next to you. That's there's some part of you that's driving this. So what's the driver behind the behavior? That's the most common question I ask clients. What's the driver behind the behavior? What are you running from? What are you leaning in towards? What do you want to get out of this? Are you doing it because you think that if you do this, you'll get a promotion? Is that really true? Probably not. What's the driver behind the behavior? This one, interestingly, this one's actually quite a tough one for me to answer without having more context.
But there's some good stuff there around. I was at an event yesterday, and someone else who was also presenting talked about limiting beliefs and how they can get in the way of things. And I think you kind of like were touching on it there, which is like, what's really driving it? Is it that you don't think you're good enough? And so you're working till 9, 10, 11 at night, and actually just sometimes trying to find the truth in that, and that can also kind of the truth will set you free. That's cliched.
Or is it that you feel like you're going to have, that you've will feel ashamed or like you've failed if you walk away from this job because, you mentioned that you're been an art director for 2 years. And so I guess still pretty new to the industry. And it's a really hard industry to get into. A lot of, that's what we keep getting told. If you've got a job, you have to hang on to it. But one thing I noticed in, the reason that we started the Open Arms, I went back to work in the pandemic, went back to an agency job out of, I had a baby. What's the word? My brain absolutely went dead, and it was probably because of my baby. They're not a baby anymore. But so I was off. Mat leave. That's it. Parental leave. I left, and then so I came back like in the middle of the pandemic, and I think because I hadn't been this frog slowly boiling in the pot, I could see straight away how massively things had deteriorated to the point where I was like, oh man, this is crazy. This is just not what I signed up for, and not what anyone signed up for. And the expectation on people to deliver was just, all the kind of thing around agency culture and it's a nice place to work and all that sort of stuff had just gone. And it was like, we all have to do this, like it was some sort of war situation. And so I was like, man, I can't do that. So we started our own little thing. And I have to say, it's a huge, you have to be brave to walk away from a job. And I think, especially if you are young and you haven't had much experience, we get conditioned to believe that, leaving a job means that you're turning down your career or you're going to take a massive step backwards. And actually, though, you could do yourself a massive more damage by staying in something that is kind of crushing you, And what you're talking about, actually, when you talk about you're working around the clock, 9, 10, 11 every night, there are agencies that have that expectation. And absolutely, you do need to put boundaries in place. And if those boundaries aren't respected, or if you get pushback, or if you find that you're in a position where actually you feel like because you've put some boundaries in place, and the easiest boundary is to walk out the door and turn your email and phone off, and to say, if you feel bad about doing that, you can say in advance, I can't stay late tonight. I'm just letting you, I'm staying till 6, but I'm going to stay till 6. I have to leave at 6 or whatever it is. But just so I know, I know I've got this deadline and I'll be able to complete this today and I'll be able to do X tomorrow, because the fact is that it's the work's going to get done. And, there's sometimes these false deadlines are put in because we allow ourselves to stay late. We do it because, I don't want to let my team down. It's not my boss I care about. It's the designer sitting next to me or my copywriter, and everyone just gets into this perpetual pattern of working these ridiculous hours, and your brain just goes around. And so the work you're doing is not great and you're miserable and it's horrible. But, and so I think you need to be a little bit brave and find a way to be able to put those boundaries in place. And if those boundaries aren't respected, then this is not the workplace for you, because you can't continue like that.